Sir Squeezington here, mascot for the Great Tangerine Squeeze Road Construction Project, with a special message from our radio partners.
Thanks, Sir Squeezington. Get ready, Marana. We're adding new lanes beneath the Tangerine Interchange Bridge. Starting May 18th, traffic on Tangerine Road through the I-10 underpass will be reduced to just one lane in both directions. For those exiting westbound I-10 at Tangerine Road, expect a single left turn lane and traffic congestion until March of 2027. Avoid the squeeze altogether. Use Twin Peaks or Avra Valley as your go-to routes, especially if you're heading home in Marana or coming from Tucson. This work is part of the Great Tangerine Squeeze Construction Project. Learn more at maranaaz.gov/squeeze.
Less traffic means less stress. So plan ahead and help keep Marana moving.
Whether you're starting a business or looking to expand in Marana, our Town Development Services staff will walk you through the steps towards success. Learn about business licenses, development permits, business loans, local and state resources, and more. Let's get to work. For more information, visit maranaaz.gov/business development.
Is your home in need of serious repairs? Marana's Housing Rehabilitation Program helps qualifying residents with essential fixes like roofing, heating and cooling, electrical work, and water heaters at no cost to you. See if you qualify today at maranaaz.gov/CDBG and keep your home safe and comfortable.
Welcome to Real Talk with the Town, where I sit down with Marana staff to answer your burning questions about our beautiful community. My name is Terry Rozema, and I'm the town manager for the town, so let's get started. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Real Talk with the Town. My name is Terry, and I am your host, and today we're going to be talking about what's going up in Marana, what's going on in Marana with development, and who better to have than our current Interim Development Services Director, Brett Wittenberg. Brett, how are you, buddy?
Great. Thanks for having me today, Terry.
Yeah, well, it's good to have you. So, buddy, you came from the Midwest, right?
Correct.
Tell
Michigan.
me a little bit about where you came from. This is our icebreaker. We're going to get into a little icebreaker before we jump into the topic of today.
Okay. Yes. So moved here in November from Michigan. I was in Michigan for about 15 years with my wife there. And
are you a Spartan or are you a Wolverine?
I'm a Spartan by marriage.
Oh, my. Man, that hurts just a little bit, folks. Those of you who listen to the show know I'm a diehard Go Blue guy. But that's okay, Brett.
Yes. I'm Big 12, though.
Big 12.
I
12
was
guy.
Yep.
Yep. Because you're the Cyclones, right?
Correct.
Yeah, grew up in Iowa?
No, grew up in the Chicago suburbs. So
Okay.
I've made my way around. So grew up in the Chicago suburbs, worked in the Chicago area for a while, and went to Colorado and then to Michigan, and here I am in Arizona.
In Arizona. So this is the part of the icebreaker I really want to get to. You seen any desert creatures in the first 6 months that you've been here?
Yes, quite a few. So we've been able to see coyotes. Just recently saw a bobcat out the back door. And
was he in your yard?
He was on top of the wall, the side wall.
Yeah. They like doing that.
Yes, and we've got a herd. I think it's a herd of javelinas behind our house, so they come visit our.
Yeah, I don't think it's a flock because I don't think they fly.
Right.
Yeah, I don't think it's a gaggle. I think a herd probably of javelina. That makes sense.
So, and we've got two boxers that are very interested in the wildlife since they.
Don't get too close, brother.
That's why we've got the view fence behind us.
Yeah. Well, I get wildlife around my house all the time. Just had a coyote jump the wall the other day, and I look outside, and there he is eating a bird that had flown into the window and broke its neck or something. So, yeah, we get a lot of that around here. So get used to it, man.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Well, Brett, we're not here to talk about wildlife in Arizona and specifically Marana. But we are here to talk about development, and we got a few questions that have been coming in. And the first couple really deal with restaurants. Now, this has been a big topic in the past, and we've covered this, I think, probably 2 or 3 times. And I think we're just going to have to keep covering it until everybody understands what it takes to get a restaurant, because that's the question. For Dove Mountain, they want to know, like, where are the sit-down restaurants? We need new sit-down restaurants. We've got car washes, and we've got coffee shops, and we've got self-storage going up, but where are the new restaurants? And the same thing for the Gladden Farms area. They want to know, where are their sit-down restaurants? Too much fast food coming in and not enough sit-down restaurants. So what say ye, Brett Wittenberg? Do you have the magic formula that's going to bring sit-down restaurants to Marana?
So it's interesting, Terry. We just purchased a house in the Dove Mountain area. So my wife and I, we like to consider ourselves somewhat the foodies. We like going out to different sit-down restaurants to eat, and it's always great to have those available in the area. I think one thing, generally speaking, about restaurants, they operate, the industry operates on such a tight margin. So,
I've heard that repeatedly from the restaurateurs that we talk to.
Right. Yeah. So it's really difficult with construction costs for those local restaurants to get up and get started, especially if they're going to build their own brick and mortar location. So it's a lot of times it's those bigger corporations, and unfortunately, really the sit-down local mom and pop restaurants.
Yeah. So we've heard repeatedly on the show, people ask, well, why don't you give incentives then? And that's a tough one too, because the Arizona law has a pretty strict regulations relative to what's called the gift clause. We're kind of in a catch-22, wouldn't you say?
Yes, I would agree with that. And we're really dependent upon the market and the development community. We've got a couple larger developments going on right now in the town of Marana that offer additional land set aside for commercial type uses. So a lot of that's dependent on the private sector.
Yeah. So no new restaurants, sit-down restaurants that you're aware of, right?
Correct.
Okay. And some fast food restaurants coming in.
Yes.
Yeah. So we'll talk about that here in a minute. But so what we talked about for Dove Mountain pretty much applies. You can pretty much cut and paste what we just said about Dove Mountain and the restaurants up there. Pretty much the same thing for Gladden Farms?
Gladden Farms, absolutely, and pretty much anywhere else in the town of Marana.
Yeah. So one thing I do want to talk about, and you and I have discussed this a little bit, but the town just recently bought 2.2 acres right behind, what is it, a Circle K there?
Yes.
At Lon Adams and Tangerine?
Yes.
Yeah. So 2.2 acres is kind of adjacent to and contiguous with the Gladden Farms Park over there. And we got some plans over there. Is that something that you can fill the listeners in on a little bit?
Yes. So that location, we're looking at the pump track location. I think the town.
For those who don't know what a pump track is, Brett, let them know.
Bicycle?
Yes. Yeah. It's a bike track.
Right.
Pump track, they call it. I'm not really sure why they call it a pump track, other than you can kind of go through it without even pedaling, is my understanding.
Right. We called it a dirt track in Michigan.
Yeah, these won't be dirt. These will be rubberized something or other. I don't know. But anyway, so a pump track.
Yep.
But that's not food.
Nope. And I think the intention is to have some areas set aside there for some type of food truck or localized food vendors that would be located at that location.
Yeah, spot on. So the idea here is something similar to those of you who may be aware of the box yard, basically taking shipping containers, turning them into a little food court situation. You have a place that sells tacos, a place that sells burgers, pizza, beer, etc., and then maybe like a nice sitting area, a little band show where you can have some live music. So although we don't have the ability, correct me if I'm wrong, we don't have the ability to build restaurants as a town, we could use our land for something like that. We could, partner with somebody to create something like that.
Yes, absolutely. And I think that's, as communities grow, that's one of the key things, is looking at those potential partnerships with private development as well, because that way you've got better chances of getting what the community really needs if you've got those relationships.
Yeah. So in your opinion, you think that's a draw for people in the community, something like that where you have a space for some food trucks, and you have like a fixed spot for food that people can come and grab something to eat, grab a beer, whatever, watch the kids play ball.
Yeah, absolutely. It's all about creating a sense of place.
A sense of place.
Yep. And those opportunities are great for any community. You can have various nodes or pockets of those throughout a community. So,
yeah. Seems like with it being right on the SUP and the Chuck Huckleberry Loop there, that would lend itself to a kind of convenience for people and a neat place for families to ride their bikes to.
Absolutely. And that goes back, I'll give you a little story that I haven't shared with you previously.
Right. Story time, gentlemen.
So back in my freshman year of college, came home for the summer.
So like 10 years ago?
Sure. We'll run with it. I actually worked a hot dog cart.
Really?
And it was in the hometown I grew up in. It was on a regional trail, and it was amazing because you had families, kids riding their bikes on these trail systems and get hungry after riding their bike a couple miles and hit the hot dog stand. So, yeah, it's definitely a good location, I think, for that type of use.
That's cool. That's very cool. I didn't know that about you. So now, did you stand on the side of the path yelling, "Hot dog! Get your hot dog here"?
I did not.
You did not. Okay,
No.
Just the smell of the hot dog.
Absolutely.
All right. Cool. All right. So even though we don't have any sit-down restaurants coming, we are, working on some things to bring a sense of place for people to go and gather and be and eat and drink and be merry and all of those things. All right, so next question here. Over Linda Vista, Twin Peaks, right at the intersection there, across from the outlet mall, there is a clearing of the ground over there that's occurring, and people are wondering, like, what's going on over there? So fill us in, Brett. What's going on?
Yes, so that would be the Cascada development. So it's roughly 750 acres of that overall development left to be built. So it's a mixed-use development. It'll include commercial as well as residential, which offers the town a mix of housing types that could potentially be available, and additional commercial land for hopefully some of those restaurants can come in and snap up some property there.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that because the guy that's building that, his name is Bourne, last name Bourne, and he's also doing the Uptown over there by the mall. I was talking with him the other day. He said they are, in fact, talking to some sit-down restaurants, 2 different sit-down restaurants. So keep our fingers crossed.
Absolutely.
I hope something happens there. So what do you say to people? Because there has been, some pushback from the community. There's been some things posted online about, what are you guys doing? You're letting them just blade the desert. What happens with an area like that some people see as sensitive, right? From a just a animal corridor, just from a beauty standpoint. The desert, people love it, saguaros, all of that. What do you say to people who have that concern, that angst?
And you're right. We've seen a lot of that concern recently once they started construction on the project. This project in particular, this goes back to 2006 when this project originally started. And then there was another
20 years ago.
Yes.
This was set into motion.
Yes, this whole project was set into motion. Then 2011, there was additional area added to it. And then 2025, it really combined those 2 plans. So this has been around for 20 years. From a development aspect, as a public entity, we try and ensure that we're able to get the best development we can for the town. At the end of the day, it is private property. So we work with those developers, this Cascada development. So we talk about the saguaros. So as part of the overall development, they set aside over 300 acres, which was dedicated to Pima County as a conservation area. They've also provided 80 acres of park space for the town to utilize as part of this development as well.
Okay, so really good points there. 3 things that you just said that I want to highlight. Number one, it's private property, right?
Correct.
People own property and they have the right to develop it. And it's going to get developed. And typically, people don't buy a piece of land with the intent of keeping it bare and vacant forever. So somebody who purchases 700, 800, whatever numbers of acres, 1,000 acres, let's just go with 1,000, and they decide to develop it, and they begin to grade the area. They save some of those saguaros, right? The
yes.
ones that can be saved, they save and they set those aside. And talking with Don, he told me, Don Bourne, that they were able to salvage 140 saguaro cactus.
Correct.
So that's good, right?
Yes.
So, and then they'll replant those, I assume?
Yes.
Okay. The other ones that are graded are ones that are diseased and aren't going to survive being replanted.
Correct.
Okay. So the other thing that you mentioned is set-aside space. 300 of the 1,000 acres, so 30-some%, plus 80 acres of park space. So 30 acres or 300 acres of undisturbed, 80 acres of park space. So they're doing quite a bit to continue to provide that kind of open space feeling.
Correct. And that's part of the township's requirements as well, as that set aside of 30% of open space for developments.
Okay, so that's something that we as the town have said, look, you can develop your property, but you have to set aside undisturbed open. It's called NUOS, right?
Correct.
What does that stand for? Undisturbed oaks.
Natural
undisturbed. Yeah,
oaks.
NUOS. Yeah. There's an N in there, Harry. Come on. Get with it. Okay, so going to have a nice park there that's 80 acres, going to have some, great undisturbed open space. And there's going to be development there of houses and commercial. People are wanting restaurants.
Correct.
Yeah. All right. So that's a big development. Now, there was some concern because there's a cemetery over there. I believe it belongs to the Pasquayaki tribe?
Correct.
Okay. So what's going to happen with that?
So again, as part of the development process, as these developers come to the town, we work with them. So that's a separately owned piece of property. As part of their specific plan, we identified the cemetery as something to be protected. So that's going to remain undisturbed as the Cascada development progresses in the different phases. There's going to be a 50-foot buffer around the site,
okay,
as well as some type of fencing or screening to further protect that cemetery once Cascada starts to build out.
And still access for people that want to go to the cemetery to visit their loved ones, I assume?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So that's the development that a lot of people are writing in and asking about, wondering what's going on and what's going to happen and what we're doing with the saguaros and what's going to happen with the cemetery. So hopefully that clears up some of those things. I will say, too, this is something that people, they're really getting concerned about because of the amount of development, is that we're I heard this a couple of times, Marana is getting overdeveloped. And so I just want to take a minute, I think, to put things in perspective. Take the town of Marana and you compare it to the town of Oro Valley. And this isn't a comparison for the purposes of saying one is better than the other. It's just a reality of the situation. Oro Valley, 34 square miles, they're 88% developed, right?
Yes.
88% developed means they have about 12% of their space that is undeveloped. Town of Marana, however, 124 square miles, and I think we have a roughly 90 square miles of open space, meaning that 37 square miles are developed and 90 square miles are still undeveloped. So when you put that into perspective, in comparison, somebody living in Oro Valley, if you're a resident there, you have I did the math on this, so I'm not just making this up in my head. I actually did the math in this. 0.00014 acres of land per resident over in Oro Valley. In Marana, you have 0.88, almost a full acre per person of space in Marana. So there is a big difference in the amount of space that is left to be developed in Marana, and some of that is going to be developed. And the other thing I think to keep in mind is the amount of space that Marana is requiring people to keep open, like Brett was just talking about. The Nuos, 30%. Quite frankly, the preserve, 3,500 acres of preserve up in state land. A town pays roughly $800,000 a year, or very close to that now. Go ride bikes and walk and hike and do all those kinds of things. So just a little bit of information that I think is important for people to keep in mind. There is a lot of open space in Marana. It is owned by individuals and they have the right to develop it. I'm going to step down now. I'm on my soapbox, Brett. We're going to get back into this. I hope that was helpful, though. So I want to talk about the apartments. This is one you and I have talked about a number of times, like, man, what is going on with the apartments behind the Target on Thornydale at Erie Drive? Man, what can you tell us?
Yeah, so that project has been on hold, for lack of a better term, for quite some time now. It was approved for multifamily residential uses. Apparently, again, getting back to the private property rights and owners. The developer has run into some issues with contractors or financing, and things have been kind of put on hold for that project right now with the developer. Currently, the site is secured. It's got fencing around it. The buildings are safe today. So the town's really limited in regards to what we can and can't do regarding encouraging that developer to get moving on that project. I think until it becomes a life safety issue, that's when we've got more leverage and the town can go in there and take action if necessary.
Now, some people appreciate that, Brett. I think that's an excellent response. Some people are complaining about the appearance of it, saying it's a blight on the area. From a blight standpoint, what can be done if?
There's specific definitions and criteria for something to be considered blighted. And again, what you may consider blight, someone else has a different opinion of what blight is. But again, I think it's when it becomes a life safety issue is when the town has that enforcement capability to go in and take the necessary remedies with the private property owner.
Okay, so strictly regulated by code, by law. So certainly we'll keep an eye on that.
Yes.
And if there are things that violate the law, we'll take action.
Yes.
As it stands right now, there isn't anything from a enforcement standpoint that we can.
That's correct.
Okay. All right. So we have gotten into the main things that people asked about, but let's talk a little bit. Let's just kind of go around the community here. Let's talk about North Marana here right now. Anything going on up here that people might want to know about, like what's going on? Let's just say Marana and I-10.
Okay, so Marana and I-10. Hopefully, we've got Kentucky Fried Chicken moving forward
Are
off
you
of
a
there.
Kentucky Fried Chicken fan?
I don't mind Kentucky Fried Chicken, but this is one of those projects that has been kind of on again, off again, on again, off again.
It's lingering.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yes. So
we think they're back on track.
we're hoping so.
Okay,
yes.
So that's right over there by the Dutch Brothers, Taco Bell, and that whole area.
Correct.
Yeah. All right. Anything else over there?
That's it right now.
Okay. So let's shift and talk about what's going on with our downtown, man. I mean, we've been talking about downtown for a while. We got it approved by the council. Most people, I think, know that some referendums were filed against the downtown to force it to go to the voters. So where do we stand on that? Do you have updated information?
So right now, you're correct. There was some referendums done, and those have been challenged in the courts. So the downtown plan is currently in the court process.
Okay.
I'm not sure exactly where it stands as of today.
I think there are arguments. So we won in the Superior Court here locally in Pima County. and it got appealed to the appellate court. So I think next week, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Brett, I believe the most recent information is that next week we'll make arguments in front of the appellate court on that one. So hopefully we'll have some news here for folks.
Yes. And again, that goes back to one of those public-private partnerships, and the land's right across from the municipal complex here.
Right.
I think it offers a lot of opportunity or potential for a sense of place.
Yes.
Going back to it.
Yes, I love it. Sense of place, a real gathering spot. I'm probably highly prejudicial, but I love the plan and the idea. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens. So up north, let's cover this one too, up north, because it's another item that is going through the courts right now is data centers. Is the town getting data centers, or are we not getting data center? What's going on with it?
So again, that project did go to referendum, and it's been challenged in the courts as well. And we're just waiting for that project to get through the court process. They've gotten their approvals from the town. So now it's kind of wait and see what happens through the court process on that.
Yeah. Running through the courts, also running through the legislature right now. So we'll see what happens with all of that, and we'll keep people posted. I know people have very strong opinions about data centers. I will just say not against or in favor of, just simply factual information. They are needed infrastructure, required infrastructure for the direction that technology is going, for the amount of technology that folks use. So those things are going to be built. It's a matter of where. The other thing that we need to keep in mind is a lawful infrastructure and lawful businesses. If you end up putting yourself in a bad position when you absolutely refuse. I think the industry saw that a number of years back relative to cell towers. People said, no, we don't want cell towers anywhere, and refused to allow them in their communities. And then you were forced to have them. And then you lost kind of the ability to decide where they went. Trying to work with data centers to have them where we think they fit and where they work. We'll see what happens with that, and we'll keep people posted on that. So anything happening, let's move on down to, say, the Gladden Farms area, because there's quite a bit of construction over there at the Fry's and across the street over there by the Circle K that we talked about. What's going up and on over there?
Yeah, so we've got a number of items going on in that area. You're correct there. So we've had the two Flint buildings that have been constructed for a little while right now, and one of those has been sold to an asset management company, and the other warehouse building just fairly recently leased out approximately half their space there.
Okay.
And Shamrock Foods continues with their construction. Some of the things that we hear or see on social media is sometimes people think that's the Walmart that's going in.
If that were the Walmart, man, that's the most giant Walmart on the face of the planet, man. That thing's huge.
So that is, in fact, not a Walmart.
Yeah.
But right next to this Shamrock Foods, we did have a pre-application meeting with Walmart.
Okay.
So they are looking at potentially developing in that area. Again, with pre-applications, it's kind of difficult. It's people doing their due diligence early on, and sometimes they move forward. Other times they find out it's not feasible for them.
Yeah. So that's kind of behind where the Quick Trip is, right?
Right.
And kind of that little triangle piece of property, frontage road, right up against I-10.
Correct.
Okay. So we got possible Walmart. We got Flint buildings that are going. I mean, we haven't seen anybody showing up there working. So they're doing what? They're designing the inside. What are they doing?
Yeah. So they'll be doing tenant finishes on those buildings that are completed. Shamrock's still going. They're doing the exterior work. I believe just this week they started to get their parking areas. They shifted from employee to loading area parking because they still have some work on the exterior of the building, and they want to get that area paved. So with the bigger trucks. So
I saw some of the paving being done today. So what about over at the Fry's? What do we got? We got a couple of buildings going up there in the Fry's parking lot.
Yeah, yep. So we've got a number of items over there. We've got a Chipotle going right up by the McDonald's.
Okay.
We've got the Federal Credit Union, which was
Pima Federal.
Pima Federal Credit Union. And then on the south side there, we've got Brakes Plus. That's under construction. Valvoline, that's going to be going in there.
So some auto care kind of place.
Auto-oriented businesses,
Okay.
Yep. And closer to I-10, we've got more fast food restaurants, Taco Bell and Burger King.
Okay, man, Taco Bell. I was joking about this the other day. In the movie Demolition Man, for those of you out there that might remember Demolition Man, what was the one restaurant that was the only restaurant in the year 2030 when Demolition Man was taking place? I think the movie was made in 1990. It was in the future. Single restaurant.
Taco Bell.
Taco Bell. It feels like we're moving that direction now.
It kind of does.
Taco Bell, Taco Bell, Taco Bell.
Right.
They seem to be popping up everywhere. Yeah, so there's going to be a Taco Bell down there.
Yep.
There's going to be what else?
Burger King.
Burger King.
Yes.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yes.
Yeah.
So those are the two restaurants down there.
All right. And over at Cascada, then, do we have some pre-apps on restaurants over there?
Yeah.
Fast food again.
Right. Yeah. So we've had a couple pre-applications there. McDonald's, Whataburger.
Okay, I love me a good green chili cheeseburger from Whataburger.
Yep.
I like those.
And possibly a Raising Cane's.
Raising Cane's. So some chicken fans out there. Not Chick-fil-A.
Right.
If you're a Raising Cane's fan, you'll be able to get your Raising Cane's fix over there.
Yep. And we're seeing those fast food right along the right of way along Twin Peaks there.
So that kind of makes sense to you?
Yeah. Typically that's going to be your fast food restaurants are going to be located right visible out front.
High dollar lots.
High dollar lots, big corporations that can afford those lots. But then as development moves back, it does offer that opportunity. So hypothetically, if a private developer gets those prime prices for those frontage lots, they can potentially lower prices or rents as they move back and as they get those bigger anchors in too.
Yeah. And that's the same developer, Cascada, that is talking with some sit-down restaurants as well.
Correct.
Haven't inked anything, but talking with.
Right.
Okay, so we'll keep our fingers crossed there. Anything else?
So we've got a lot of residential projects that are continuing to move forward. So we've touched on Cascada a couple times. We've got the Monarch development, which is
That's moving along quite nicely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, they are moving along there. 400 plus single family lots there. We've got Saguaro Bloom 9 and 10. Mm-hmm. So that a couple months ago we had questions again with Saguaro Bloom and the saguaros being removed
right up
there.
Against the mountains there.
And again, this is one of those projects that was started 20 plus years ago.
Yeah.
And so Saguaro 9 and 10, you're looking at roughly 120 single family lots there.
Okay.
Up towards Dove Mountain, you've got Saguaro Reserve, which is 225 single family lots. Mandarina is certain phases. That's just on the east side of the interstate, roughly 340 acres there, mixed use, commercial, residential there. That's moving along as well. Down at the south end of town, we have Silver Bell Ridge, which is 48 single-family lots just
south of Ina there on Silver Bell, right?
Correct. Southwest corner.
Madame homes, maybe?
Yep.
Are building those, yeah. So a little bit smaller subdivision, 48 homes, you said?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Great location.
Yeah.
You can see it's elevated and some good views there for that project.
Very nice. Very nice. We also got right across the street here, Cypress Gardens. I was driving through there the other day. And that's a neat little community. There's not many homes there. I would say maybe 100. I'm not sure exactly, but I like the way they have it set up. It's going to be, if we get our downtown, right, it's going to be right across the street from the downtown.
Right.
You'll be able to walk, to the mark and walk to go grab a burger and a beer.
Yep, because they've made those connections throughout that development too.
Yeah.
Sidewalks, little pocket parks too, and for the community.
Yeah, very, very, very neat. All right. Anything else, Brett? Anything else that's going up, going on, going around?
I think those are the big projects that we've got going on right now, pre-application wise. The big one we've had is Walmart, but aside from that, things have kind of slowed down a little bit this past month. But I would expect things to pick up again here in the not too distant future.
All right. Well, Brett, it was your first time on the show. How'd you feel?
Great.
Well, you did well, my friend. I greatly
you.
appreciate you joining us. I greatly appreciate you moving all the way across the United States.
It's great to be here.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah, and your wife is loving the warm weather.
Yes, she is.
As often is the case, I run into people in Costco, and that's where I met Brett's wife.
Right.
Yeah. All right. Well, Brett, thank you so much for joining us, and thank you, listeners, for sending in your questions. We always appreciate that, and we hope that the information that we provided here today has been helpful in just allowing you to grow in your understanding of what's going up in Marana and why some things happen and maybe don't happen the way you think they should, and quite frankly, don't happen the way we think they should and the way we'd like to. But that is the way of development, and we continue to work hard to try and bring a community that people love to be a part of, and we'll continue to do that as well. So appreciate you being with us here. Until next time. Submit your questions by visiting maranaaz.gov/realtalk, and we'll answer them right here. To receive notifications for new releases, remember to hit subscribe wherever you get your podcast. Also, remember to follow the town on Facebook, X, formerly known as Twitter, and Instagram to stay up to date on current news and events.